This video is sponsored by Exter. A few months ago, I decided to stop at my favorite local fooding place. But when I was about to pay, I realized I lost my wallet. Slipped right out of my pants. That isn't a problem though with an Exter trackable wallet. Exter's premium leather smart wallet is perfect for slim storage and quick card access. The built-in aluminum card holder fans out your cards at the click of a button and protects them against RFID skimming. It's pretty slim, but if you want something even slimmer, there's the smart wallet card holder. Look at that. The best part is on both of these, you can add a tracker to make them unlosable. Like this Finder card, which is the size of a credit card and can be tracked across the globe with the Apple Find My app. Exter has a summer sale going on that can save you up to 25% off their trackable wallets until August 21st, 2024. And you can use my code HUSK in the link in the description to get further savings. Remember Halo? It used to be a big deal. During the 2000s, it felt like Halo was as culturally significant as, I don't know, Star Wars. It was one of the most popular entertainment franchises out there. Even if you didn't play the games, you knew the name. You knew this guy, Mr. Halo. But 2 decades on, this property seems to have lost its touch. And now, it's probably only as culturally significant as, I don't know, I guess Star Wars still works? Man, if you haven't been following what's been going on in the world of Halo for the past decade or so, I don't blame you. Things are not going well. Mass layoffs at 343 Industries, the developers of the game. Upper management and staff have been let go, and the most recent entry in the series, Halo Infinite, just kind of failed to resonate with pretty much anybody. The game's development was a disaster, with a lot of work being outsourced to contractors outside the core team. And while after 3 years or so, the game started getting the kind of consistent updates that fans had wanted from the beginning, it was too little too late, and the seasonal update structure was dropped entirely. Look, while Steam numbers aren't the most conclusive evidence for a game's decline, I do think that it is clear that interest in this free-to-play live service has taken a nosedive over the past few years. And today, I kind of just want to talk about where they might go next. Where does Halo go from here? 343 has been the target of a lot of criticism from Halo fans for their attempts to expand the intellectual property. Bring in new people, usually at the expense of longtime fans. So much effort and time was wasted planning for this Halo TV show. Like, this thing was announced in 2013. When the show finally released, it deviated from the source material so drastically, and just after 2 seasons, it was dropped by Paramount Plus. That is exceptionally embarrassing in a time when so many video game TV shows are all the rage. Recently, there's this unfounded rumor spreading on the internet that said that 343 Industries was just going to stop making Halo games and give the property to other developers, let other people make the games. This was not true. 343 is still making Halo, but people were really excited for a few hours there. For something that has been the golden goose of the Xbox brand, it's a shame to see this franchise fall apart so hard, so fast. But here's the thing, it really wasn't that fast. I mean, it's been a long time since people unanimously agreed that Halo was good, like a long time. And now, after the failure of yet another Halo entry and a TV show, and Microsoft's priorities shifting to other franchises like Call of Duty, some are gonna wonder, what do they do now? Where do you go from here? Okay, brief history lesson. Halo was originally developed and created by Bungie. Bungie made Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3, Halo 3 ODST, and Halo Reach. Then the developers left Microsoft and never touched Halo again. But Halo is pretty important to Microsoft and to Xbox, and they didn't want to just let this thing die. Microsoft still retained the rights to the Halo franchise. Now, the smartest move at this point would have been for Microsoft to scout out for talented studios, find developers who were well established at making compelling FPS games, and maybe let some of them try their hands at a Halo spinoff. You know, keep the franchise alive, but tell a new story. Respect the legacy of Halo, and keep that goodwill retained that had been gained after all those Bungie Halo entries. But yeah, Microsoft didn't do that. Yeah, no, they got greedy. Rather than find a veteran development team, they figured they needed to make their own. 343 Industries was created by Microsoft solely for the purpose of pumping out Halo stuff. A studio created by nothingness, formed inorganically. This was a mistake. So usually the best video game studios form when just a few people work together on some small projects. If those projects are good, they might hire more staff, gain leadership skills, learn how to work together, and they become world-renowned teams. This is the right way to do things. Microsoft decided this would take too much time, so they just made the most corporate, inorganic studio possible. They took a bunch of game developers, just shoved them in a room, and expected a good game to get made. But it doesn't work that way. If this wasn't bad enough, the team was not tasked with making a spin-off in the Halo universe. They would be directly continuing the story of Halo 3. And it happens to be a continuation of one of the most beloved game trilogies of all time. The response was mixed. And while initially Microsoft paraded around this game as a hyper successful title with a super successful launch, in hindsight, it probably didn't live up to internal expectations. I mean, this released on the Xbox 360 5 years after Halo 3 released on the Xbox 360, and as far as we can tell, it somehow didn't come close to matching the sales of its predecessor. That is not good. That is not a good thing for a franchise. More people had owned Xbox 360s by this point, so you would expect the number to go up, but it went down. That's bad. Then you have the follow-up, Halo 5. And Halo 5 was kind of a soft reboot. See, a soft reboot is when a studio wants to get new fans on board without completely disregarding their old fans. They want to tell a new story, but they don't want to lose the old story. They want a new jumping off point for a new generation, but they also want to bank off of nostalgia. Yeah, this is quite literally wanting to have your cake and eating it too. Some people might like Halo 5's multiplayer, that's fine, but yeah, this was a disaster. Sales continued to drop. Halo was losing more and more relevance. Of course, 343 seemed far more interested in trying to get this Halo TV show off the ground, which, again, wouldn't end that well. 343 was just so mismanaged, so incompetent. There was no real leadership or defining direction for where this series should go next. So they decided to try another soft reboot. A lot of people have talked about why Halo Infinite failed. I don't want to go too much into that, but in short, the game engine was just a mess. It took too long to try to fix that engine, so they didn't get a lot of new updates and content for Halo Infinite. And this game that Microsoft seemed to plan on lasting for 10 years only really went on for like 3 or so before they said, we're gonna start slowing things down. Look, this game has definitely lost money. It has been a disaster for the studio. It has done so much damage for the Halo brand, whether you like it or not. This whole series isn't that relevant anymore. And a lot of that is because, well, it's been a long time since Halo was good. Those classic Halo days, that was a long time ago. The first game released 23 years ago, and 23 years before that was 1978. And you gotta think, how many people in 2001 were really into Space Invaders? If you take the entirety of Halo's existence, most of the time it was actually under the control of 343. A kid who was 6 years old when Halo 4 released could be old enough to join the military now. An entire generation has grown up with Halo games that were, well, subpar. As time goes on, the core fan base of those Bungie games will only continue to get older, and younger gamers will just view this series as, I don't know, boomer shooters, something before their time. 343 kept trying those soft reboots because they wanted a younger audience to get on board, but it did not work. And I think they finally, hopefully, figured that out. It was reported by reliable video game man Tom Warren that Halo Combat Evolved, the original game of the series, is getting a remake. Now, with many other reputable rumors suggesting that 343 is moving away from its Slipspace engine and onto Unreal Engine, it's not too difficult to make the connection here that this remake would probably be remade inside Unreal Engine, which is a good thing. Slipspace didn't seem to work out that well. There's been a lot of good popular remakes inside of Unreal Engine, from Spyro to Crash to Tony Hawk to Destroy All Humans to SpongeBob. So yeah, this could be a good idea. But this rumor also suggests that the Halo remake will not only be releasing on Xbox and PC, but also possibly on the PlayStation. That'd be interesting. So a Microsoft employee did claim that this claim is untrue, or at least they implied it. And normally that would be the end of the story, officially disregarded by the corporation itself. But in this case, with this particular account, I don't know. The account that seemed to deny all this seems like they just do PR work or marketing for Xbox. I just don't see them being somebody that's that high up in the corporate structure. The account doesn't seem all that professional. And while I do think it's legit, I do think they work for Microsoft, I doubt they're privy to all the information in the company. Like something like a Halo remake that's probably very early in development. But yeah, a remake, that's cool, maybe. We should go over what is a remake? What is the difference between a remaster and a remake? A remaster is when you just take an old game and you kind of touch it up. You have the same old code, just a better output resolution. It's a little bit crisper, improve that frame rate, improve the textures. Think of it like taking an old game and modding it on the PC, setting it to ultra settings and re-releasing it. Usually the difference visually between the old game and the new game it's not that much. It's just a remaster. And a remake is, of course, a remake. They're remaking it from the ground up. Some remakes will adhere strictly to the original source material. They'll try to change as little as possible while making it visually more appealing. But others might try and add new fancy features, new gameplay mechanics, change the music, change the art style. Like I said, there's been a lot of games from the mid-90s, early 2000s remade in Unreal Engine. Seems to be a good formula for success. And honestly, I think this is a good idea. There's a few reasons why I think this makes sense for Microsoft for the future of Halo. For one, 343 has just lost a lot of its management, a lot of the team. It's a very different development studio than it was even a few years ago. So for a studio that is under new management, that is moving to a new engine, it makes sense that they would try to just remake an old game as opposed to making a new one, because it would be a lot easier. There's gonna be creative decisions that have to be made. And some of them are pretty easy, you know? Like, you need the original soundtrack, you need that original Halo song. That is one of the most iconic aspects of the series. Every entry seems to change the look of the Halo games. You know, the first game has these vibrant colors. Many of the levels are defined by that bright green landscape and the purple hues and the blues. It feels more fantasy than just science fiction. And this is, of course, contrasted with the interiors that are very cold and industrial and sterile, whether it be the structures on Halo itself or stuff like the UNSC's ships. And to me, this is one of the most unique aspects of the original Halo, because after this point, with all the sequels, none of this really ever comes up again. Halo Infinite was supposed to be a step back into the direction of Halo 1, but to be honest, I don't know. This does not work for me. I think part of the problem is that trying to capture the look of Halo 1 with modern gaming graphics is hard. You might remember Halo Combat Evolved actually got a remaster back in 2011. It looked awful. They completely changed the art style of the game, and in my opinion, it has aged far worse than the original release. So for something like a remake, you would need an art director and team that understands what made the original game look so special, and they would need to try and replicate that with, you know, a lot more polygons. I know a lot of artists feel inclined to put their own mark on projects like these, but honestly, this is not the time for that. Nah, Halo just needs to return to form. Maybe. Halo Combat Evolved was a revolutionary game. Before that title released, many debated whether FPS games would ever be great on a game console, particularly with the controller. FPS gaming was most popular on the computer, with mouse and keyboard, or maybe trackballs if you were into that sort of thing. Game console controllers were seen by comparison as less precise, and far less ideal for first-person gaming. There had been many FPS games released on console before Halo, but there was no consistency to the control schemes. By today's standards, Halo 1 though still feels pretty good, which is incredible for an FPS that's over 2 decades old. But you gotta think, this was a revolutionary game, one with a new control scheme on console, and people were just getting used to playing games like this. So it makes sense that the gameplay, by today's standards, is kind of slow. Yes, technically I know Master Chief is running at like 40 miles an hour or something, but yeah, it feels slow. I'm not saying I want Halo to have sprints. No, I'm not saying that. But even by the metrics of 90s FPS games, Halo is slow. Think of Quake or Unreal or Turok. You just don't move that quickly in Halo. A lot of this is what makes Halo so unique. It's not really a tactical FPS that prioritizes planning and positioning. It's not a twitch-based shooter, a movement shooter. It's, again, unique. You jump slow, enemies walk slow, you have time to dodge bullets, you have your shields. You explore open maps that aren't necessarily open world. This is Halo, core Halo, and it all gets very confused and very muddled as the series goes on. A lot of fans don't like the aim down sights, sprint, clamber, movement options, armor abilities that would come in later sequels. I think Halo's just in an awkward position as a franchise. Look, if they change anything, if they speed up the game, if they introduce movement options, the core fanbase will not be happy. But if they don't change anything, people will say, wow, this game hasn't really aged that well. There's no simple solution here. So maybe Microsoft should just accept the fact that Halo might not ever be that popular again. And maybe that's okay. Of course, they still want to make money. The easiest way to do that, though, is just put it on PlayStation. Some might say this is heresy. Halo deserves to only be on the Xbox. But I would say, honestly, this is the only way forward for the franchise at this point. Halo used to sell game consoles. People would buy an Xbox just to play Halo, but that is not the case anymore. I think there's a chance that Halo could see some big comeback, but time is running out. If they want to expand the audience, the secret is not to just ruin Halo. It's just, you know, introduce it to a wider audience. Literally bring it to other platforms. I have no faith in 343 to make new Halo games that will be as beloved as the original Bungie games. And the only way I see this franchise surviving is if 343 straight up remakes the original games, gives them the respect they deserve, and tries to earn some goodwill from a community that just isn't very happy with them at the moment. I know some people would prefer something new, that 343 just moves on to a new part of the Halo lore, or they continue the story told in Halo Infinite. Others might just think they should give up entirely. And that's fair, all of that's fair. But I don't think that Halo, as a property, has enough cachet to survive a new spin-off, or even Halo Infinite 2. I really think the only solution to save Halo at this point is just remake the old games, remake the stuff that worked, and try and get a new audience interested. Some people out there might be saying, why not put Master Chief Collection on PlayStation? Why go through the effort of all of this? And honestly, money. This is probably the best they can do. Just remake Halo. Or stop. You should just stop. You could do that as well. Let Master Chief go to sleep. He looks so sleepy. Huge thanks to Exter for sponsoring this video. Remember, Exter has a summer sale going on that can save you up to 25% off their trackable wallets until August 21st, 2024. And you can use my code HUSK in the link in the description to get further savings.